This video will show you how to replace the front brake flex hose on a GMC Sierra 2500. This will be located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front end of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, if you have a hubcap, we're going to remove that. That can be done using a 22mm socket. After that, we'll remove all 8 of our 22mm lug nuts as well so we can remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our front brake caliper and our front brake flex hose. To start removing the front brake flex hose, I always like to open up my bleeder screw first. We need to make sure that we can bleed the system when we're done. If you have a bleeder screw cover, just go ahead and remove that. A quick inspection will set it aside. You do want to reuse it. We have a collection receptacle under this area so we can collect and recycle all fluid as needed. We're using a 10mm for our bleeder screw. Go ahead and turn that counterclockwise. We want to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out. Now that I do have fluid making its way out, I'm going to go into the passenger compartment. I'm going to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor and hold it there with something such as a pry bar. After pressing that down, you should find that fluid stops making its way out of the system here, so we're just going to wipe down any residual mess. We'll use our 10mm to lightly close this. We will be reopening it to bleed the system. After closing that, we can start removing our brake flex hose from the caliper itself. Now, fluid may still make its way out of here because it's going to be trapped in this portion of the flex hose and, of course, in the caliper. As we start removing our banjo bolt from the area, you want to make sure that you remove both of the gaskets. We never reuse either of our gaskets. You may find it still on the banjo bolt or possibly still on the caliper itself. Either way, remove them and dispose of them. After doing that, let's follow the brake flex hose up along the top of our steering knuckle. Now, we do have a bracket on that flex hose and our ABS wire is attached to it. We have to separate the mounting point for the ABS wire from the metal bracket. We can tap this out of place as necessary. You could also pry. Now that does have 2 locking ears on it. It's fairly difficult to squeeze those to pull them out of place. That's why I tapped on it like that. It came out perfectly, so let's continue on. To remove our bracket mounting bolts, we'll be using a 3/8 socket. It's common for these bolts to break in the steering knuckle. We'll try to work this back and forth and try to prevent that. Just a couple light taps on that bracket. Typically there is a small mounting point down along the bottom here. That could get stuck in the steering knuckle as you saw. We just tapped it out of place using a small hammer. Go ahead and follow that flex hose to its next mounting point. You'll notice the flex hose goes underneath the control arm, but the mounting bolt is up along the top. We can use our 3/8 for this mounting bolt as well. Go ahead and take hold of that. We can slide it inboard. We'll pull it down and underneath our upper control arm. As we start pulling this portion of the flex hose away, you'll find that it goes underneath your ABS wire. That's important to note for the installation process. At this point, we'll follow the flex hose all the way up to the next mounting point. To be able to gain access to our brake line leading to the flex hose, I like to be able to dislodge my front fender liner. We don't need to fully remove it, but we do have to remove a couple push clips. For this type of push clip, you're going to find that the center will be dislodged. You can start pulling that out to unlock it. Once it's unlocked, the outer portion should come out as well. Just a quick inspection of that. We'll leave it in the unlocked position for the installation. For now, just a quick inspection. We'll set it aside. We'll move up to the next pin. This is a different type. For this, I'm just making my way around the outer portion, and I'm just going to pull it out of place. If it breaks, I'll have to replace it. Now we can move this around as necessary. We'll carefully start pulling it away. You can hold it there with something such as a wooden block as necessary, and we're going to have to look up inside here for the fitting where the brake line connects to our brake hose. Now with that fender liner pulled out of position, we can see where our brake line connects to the brake flex hose. The flex hose is held in place with a metal clip, but we're going to leave that in until we have the brake line separated. I've used some penetrant on this, and I'm going to be using a 13mm for the fitting. I like to use a brake line fitting wrench here. We're just going to go ahead and start turning this counterclockwise, breaking it free, and removing it from the flex hose. Okay, I got it to move here. At this point, I'm going to switch to my opened end wrench. While loosening this, we need to make sure we're not twisting our brake line. If this is rotted in place, you can cause damage to that brake line. Just be aware of that. Now that we have that disconnected from the brake flex hose, a thorough inspection to confirm nothing's rotted, weak, or damaged. If it is, you have to replace it. This looks fine, so let's continue on with the removal. We have a metal clip here. Right along the bottom is where my grabbable ear is, so I'm going to pull this out of place so we can remove that flex hose. Now we can start removing our metal clip, holding our flex hose to the bracket. When we do this, we like to hold onto the flex hose so it doesn't fall out. Go ahead and use some pliers. We'll go ahead and start wiggling this to slide it out of place. You can also use a pry bar if necessary. We just need to slide it out so we can remove that flex hose. There's our metal clip. A quick inspection of that. You may find the flex hose is stuck in the bracket. If that's the case, you can tap it out of position using a small hammer. Go ahead and remove that flex hose from the vehicle. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, of course, we want to make sure we clean and inspect our mounting areas. We already told you to clean and inspect your brake line and fitting, confirming that's in good usable order. We also want to make sure that we clean and inspect our bracket. If it feels like it's rotted and weak, you're going to want to replace it. We'll just go ahead and use a wire brush for this. Clean it up. Remove any miscellaneous rust. That feels good. Now it's time to install our brand new front brake flex hose. When we go to install this into the bracket, you want to pay attention to the area that slides into the bracket. There's going to be two locating tabs. We can see the small one here, and if I was to rotate this, we can see the other one on the far side. One of these is a larger diameter than the other. As we bring this into position in the bracket, you're going to find the bracket has the slots that correspond with those tabs. We'll press this in, twist it until it feels like it's aligned, and then lock it in with our locking clip. Now, when I spun it, I could feel that it went all the way up against my bracket, and I can see the groove where my locking clip needs to go. Let's continue on with that clip. As far as the clip, we want to make sure that we have the tab facing out and away from the bracket. Go ahead and tap that into position. Double check to make sure it feels as though it's secured in place. Let's pause with the flex hose and continue with our brake line. Let's get this line in place. I'm pressing it in. Typically you want to start this in by hand. My fitting is a little stiff on my line, so I'm just carefully using my 13mm wrench. We're turning this clockwise, attempting to get it started without cross-threading it into the wrong position. I have that started. I just want to double check to make sure it's properly seated. And of course, we'll make sure it's nice and tight. Now that I have it bottomed out with my opened end wrench, I'm just switching to my line wrench here. We want to make sure that that's nice and tight so we do not have a leak. Let's go ahead and take hold of that line. It should not move around in this area. We have the areas for our push clips. If you're using the type of push clip that has the inner and the outer portion, you drive in the outer portion, lock it in with the center. Let's get that in position there. Double check to make sure your inside fender liner is secured. Let's continue on with our flex hose along the top of our upper control arm next. Now in the area on the upper control arm that the mounting bolt is going to go, I like to use some anti-seize. You don't need very much, just a light coating should do along the threaded port. Now let's look at our flex hose. We can see the bracket. This will come from underneath the upper control arm. It's going to roll along the inboard side and the mounting bolt will come through along the top. Go ahead and start that in, snug it up. Right there is bottomed out. Just take it a tiny bit further. We do not want to break it off in the control arm. We just want to make sure that it's secured. Looking along the top of our steering knuckle, we have our next mounting bolt port. A little bit of copper anti-seize for this as well. Now that I have anti-seize on that, we'll lift up on that ABS wire. We're sliding the brake hose bracket underneath the ABS wire as I mentioned before. Now we can get this in place. Looking along the bottom of our bracket, we have our one alignment tab, and then we also have the port for our mounting bolt. Looking at the knuckle, we have a port for that tab and the area for our mounting bolt as well. Line this up here. Start installing our mounting bolt. Now you may find that the bracket does move around on you until you have it fully installed here, so I'm just going to try to hold it while I continue on tightening my bolt. Just a couple light taps on the area with that small tab. We'll give this a wiggle to confirm it's properly secured in place. We have our ABS wire that's going to slide into this area. Just go ahead and press it right in there. Now if this was broken in any way, you can use a wire tie. You just want to make sure the ABS wire is properly secured so it doesn't get damaged. Let's continue on with that brake flex hose over at the caliper next. Now when we go to bring the flex hose into position towards the caliper, we have our brand new banjo bolt, and you can see I already installed one of my brand new gaskets. I'm just going to slide that all the way against the flange of the banjo bolt, and now we can slide it through our flex hose. Once you have it in place, continue on with your next brand new gasket on the other side of the flex hose. Now we have one on each side. Continuing on, we're going to get this in place onto the caliper here. Just go ahead and start that in by hand so you're sure you're not cross-threading it into the wrong positioning and snug it up. Okay, so right there is bottomed out. We do want to gently compress each one of our two gaskets so we don't have a leak here, so I'm only going to go another quarter turn. After that, we'll just double check to make sure the flex hose is properly secured. It should not move around in any way. Now we need to do a gravity bleed. To do that, you need to make your way up inside the passenger compartment. You want to remove the brake pedal depressor. After you've done that, we're back at the caliper. We're going to open up our bleeder screw with a 10mm. We have our collection receptacle under here. Let's go ahead and open this up. We're waiting to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubbles. Okay, this is looking good. I have a steady trickle of fluid making its way out. I don't see any air bubbles, so I'm going to close this off. Let's just wipe this down real quick. Now the next thing you need to do is make your way into the passenger compartment, pump up the brake pedal, confirm it feels firm. If it feels like it's soft or it drops down to the floor in any way, you might still have air trapped in the system, in which case you want to continue on with a manual brake bleed. Otherwise, just go ahead and clean up your mess and reinstall your bleeder screw cover. Now it's time to reinstall that wheel. Once you have the wheel in place, start on all 8 of your 22mm lug nuts. We're going to lightly bottom them out. We'll get the wheel safely back down on the ground and then torque each of them to 140 foot-pounds. Now I've got the wheel back on the ground, let's go ahead and torque each of these lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. If you have a center cover, install that now. We'll get the center cover in place. We're starting on each one of our caps using our 22mm socket here. Just snug them up. Double check to make sure it's secured in place. Okay friend, let's get started on bleeding the brakes. We want to start under the hood at the master cylinder. Prior to opening it, let's make sure we use a clean rag, and we're going to clean along the top of the master cylinder and your master cylinder cap. We want to prevent any miscellaneous debris making its way into the braking system. After you've cleaned the area, take hold of the cap, turn it counterclockwise, and remove it. You can tell exactly what type of fluid to use, .3 as I mentioned. Of course, we're going to inspect our seal. You want to make sure it's not swollen or damaged in any way. This does look good, so I'm going to temporarily set it aside. Continuing on, we want to remove as much fluid from inside of the master cylinder as possible so we can confirm that we have only clean fluid in here for the rest of the bleeding procedure. Now I've removed as much fluid as possible from the master cylinder. We're topping it off with our clean .3 brake fluid. If you do happen to spill any brake fluid on any painted surface, you need to make sure you rinse it down with some clean water. We're just bringing this up towards our maximum line here. Temporarily reinstall the cover so no miscellaneous debris makes its way in while we continue on our brake bleed process. Now to bleed the brakes, we're going to be starting at the passenger side rear caliper. Once we've completed bleeding that caliper, you're going over to the driver's side rear caliper and you're going to repeat this exact same process. After that, you're back at the master cylinder. You need to top it off because typically the fluid will go down. After you've topped it off, go to the passenger side front, you're going to bleed that caliper, and then you're ending at the driver's side front caliper. After you've completed bleeding all brakes and cleaned any mess, you're going to reinstall your wheels, and then you're making your way back up to the master cylinder to top off your master cylinder one last time with that clean .3 brake fluid. As you can tell, I'm at the passenger side rear. We're going to start bleeding the brakes, and this is going to be easiest if you have the second person inside of the vehicle. They're going to pump up the brake pedal for us approximately 3 to 5 times. They're going to hold that brake pedal, let me know, and I'm going to open up my bleeder screw. When this happens, we're waiting to see only a steady trickle of fluid making its way out with no air bubble, and of course we want to make sure it's clean brake fluid as well. We have a collection receptacle under here, and of course hand and eye protection at all times. Go ahead and pump the brakes, please. Got our 10mm wrench. Let's do this slow here. We want to try to make sure all the fluid goes into our collection receptacle, and of course we are watching for air bubbles making its way out of the system. Go ahead and pump, please. Now, once you feel as though you've removed all air from on this side braking system and we only have clean brake fluid making its way out, we're going to clean any mess. And as I mentioned before, make your way over to the driver's side rear caliper. Repeat this exact same process. After you've cleaned up the mess on that side, you're going to want to make sure you stop at that master cylinder to top it off. Make sure that's dry and clean so we can double check for leaks in the end. I finished the driver's side rear, so I'm at the master cylinder. We can remove the cap, top it off with our clean dot 3. That looks good for now. Let's make our way to the passenger side front caliper next. At the passenger side front caliper, if you have a bleeder screw cover, go ahead and remove that, of course. We're still going to be using our 10mm for each front caliper. We have our collection receptacle under here. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. That looks good. You can release the brake pedal, thank you. Now obviously you want to bleed the brake as many times as you need to remove as much air as possible, and we only have clean brake fluid making its way out, so I'm going to go ahead and clean my mess on this caliper. We'll reinstall the bleeder screw cover since I did remove one. After that, I'm going over to the driver's side front. I'm going to repeat this exact same process. You're going to make your way up to the master cylinder afterward. After bleeding all brakes, we're at the master cylinder. Let's go ahead and top it off one last time. We can see where our maximum line is. This is where we need to be. Reinstall your master cylinder cover. Clean any mess in this area. Okay, friend, we finished bleeding our brakes. You want to double check for leaks and reinstall all 4 of your wheels. The torque for your lug nuts will be 140 foot-pounds. Okay, friend, we finished our installation and bled our brakes. We've cleaned any mess and double checked for leaks. Now the next thing we need to do is go ahead and take the vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.